Hello everybody, welcome to another video. Today is the day. This is part 3 of the PowerMac G5 Hackintosh build filming vlog, and today is the day that this machine becomes my main machine, kind of anyway, for Windows anyway, because I don't have OS 10 on it yet, obviously. That's coming in part 4. But today is the day of the build. But as you may or may not know, some of the parts, like the graphics cards, the Wi-Fi card and stuff, is coming out with my existing Hackintosh. So first, before we can do anything with the G5, we need to rip that out and strip it down. And there she is, guys, in all her glory. This machine has been great. Obviously my first Hackintosh. And it's just been, it has not put a foot wrong. It has not crashed in OS 10 since day one. It has been that rock solid. The CX430 is in it at the moment because obviously in part 2 when we did the case modding, I had to put the I had to modify the PSU. So this is basically the power supply that my brother is going to use in this machine for his gaming PC. So I just had to sort of use that for a couple of weeks while we got to this point. But yeah, GTX 660, if we just take this out on the fly now actually. One difference when I was installing this CX430 after the 500 was it's not modular. It's just the regular version with cables coming out everywhere, and you can still see that with the graphics card and stuff in place, it's still a pretty tidy looking build. There's not that many cables out like in the way or anywhere, but the number of cables that are all crammed down there are just unbelievable. Now I've gone modular, I could never go back. It's just so much more convenient, not only like straight off the bat for cable management and stuff, but down the line. So like a lot of manufacturers, they sell different like post-sale cables. So if a standard changes down the line, then the company can release that modified cable or whatever. But out pops the 660. Obviously all of this is going to have to be thoroughly cleaned before I put it into the G5. I'm expecting the G5 to be a pretty dust-free system. There's a serious amount of airflow going over the CPU, so at least in that little chunk between the internal and external exhaust things, I don't expect there to be much in the way of dust there at all. But we may get a bit of build-up of dust over the PCI section. Although, having said that, we do have that little 80mm internal sort of fan in place that could help dust just sort of blow its way out the back. So I'm not sure. We'll wait and see. The G5 was never perfect when it came to dust. Obviously, it's one giant unfiltered intake basically. But yeah, here's our SSD. Where's my screwdriver? There it is. We're going to be putting this in our enclosure, obviously, 2.5-inch enclosure, and then running it at SATA 3 speeds. Now this SSD running at the speed that it's rated at on the SATA 3 bus. I can't get this screwdriver in. Bear with me. There we go. Running at SATA 3, it should give me about 500 meg read and write speeds, which is much better. I'm getting about 250 at the moment, obviously because it's running on SATA 2. But this is a little beast of a SSD. I'm not sure if that screw's undone, is it? There we go. Awesome. Out pops the SSD. The little beast, 128 gig Toshiba SSD. I believe it came out of one of those Goppin gaming laptops. I believe that's where it came from, if I remember correctly. What next? We've got our RAM in there. We won't be reusing that. I've got a new set of RAM. The fans, awesome little case fans. I won't be using these, obviously. We've got the Arctics. The Core i5, because obviously I needed to test whether it was working or not. The Core i5 is actually sitting in there at the moment. The Wi-Fi card as well, but that's down there. I'll take the CPU off first. Hard drives, I believe they're still plugged in from the other side. Yeah, this is going to get a bit awkward now, guys. I'll get the rest of the components out: hard drive, CPU, Wi-Fi card, and I'll meet you downstairs. Here we are then. Familiar sight. Part 3. Camera, G5 or subject. Softbox. Light. So again, it's just the whole mix of daylight and a bit of warm light. And yeah, this is going to be a really fun part to record. It's one of my least favourite things about recording these videos, trying to get B-roll of the G5. It's such a nice case in person, but it's just so hard to get it looking decent on video. It's really tricky. I just cannot wrap my head around it. It's the whole way the aluminium bounces light everywhere, so it ends up looking really quite weird. But yeah, off to a bit of a strong start here. Basically, obviously not everybody is going to be watching this one video after another, so I just have to recap and say, here's our G5, this is what we did in the last part, basically. If you go straight in to installing the CPU, they'll go, oh, hang on, what happened in the last video? So you just have to rewind at the start, I find, a little bit, just to recap and keep everyone sort of up to speed. Basically, my rule is, if the watcher doesn't know what's going on, if they're just watching that video as a standalone, then you haven't explained yourself very well. So I think every video should be self-contained, and you should be able to watch just that video and know what's going on, without watching the prior parts and stuff. So yeah, cracking on. I just got to the part where we get to work on the motherboard. Motherboard's down there. Cooler, CPU all ready to go. And then I was like, oh, this looks a bit weird. This footage, it looks a bit too much like it's running at 60 FPS. And yeah, the whole thing was recording 720p 60 FPS. So I can't do that. I want this series to be decent. It's just sort of backing out and going, oh fuck it, it'll be fine. That's a bit lazy. So I've set it back to 1080p at 24 FPS, and we'll go again. I've recorded a couple of shots again now, obviously in 24 frames a second now, so all good. And I can't quite put my finger on how or why this machine rocks. Like, you see a lot of G5s and a lot of Mac Pros that have been shipped, you get the feet pop off their rivets. This G5 was shipped in its original box, and it's all perfect with that regard. There's none of the rivets are out of place. It's all in absolutely perfect condition, but it just seems to have an ever so slight rock to it, as if it's like that somehow. So what I might have to do, you can just see there's a little gap. I'm not sure if you can see that, but as the left hand of the back goes down, the front hand right goes up. It's like it's slightly sort of skew-if. So I might have to do something about that. I'm not sure how, because looking at it dead on, it looks totally 100% perfect, but it just seems to be at a diagonal kind of. But yeah, it's just a random little thing. I didn't notice it when I was doing all of the case modding and stuff. And it's not like I've dropped it or anything, so it's not like I've damaged it. Could be gunk under the feet, maybe, I don't know, I'll have to look later. But now we can actually get to work on the motherboards properly, and someone has posted the newspaper. Oh, yeah, Wales are out of the World Cup. Honestly, guys, I couldn't have asked more, really. I mean, I was very as when with all the injuries and stuff. I went into the World Cup saying, as long as we beat the English, I don't really care. We ended up beating the English. We should have beaten the Australians if we played with a bit of width, and we should have beaten South Africa for Alex bloody Cuthbert on the wing being sucked in at the last minute. But yeah, I mean, quarterfinals going out to South Africa, that's not too bad, and given the amount of injuries, that's a pretty solid performance in my book. But yeah, that's off topic. I'm going to get back on to work now. It's now 4:15, so time is ticking. Hello everybody, it's now a couple of days later. I've been a bit busy the last couple of days, so I haven't been able to work on this video, so this video is going to be a bit delayed. But look what we've got here. That's a Nexus 6, and that's a Nexus 4 next to it. Look at the difference in size, it's just madness. But yeah, got this for a ridiculous price. This is a 64 gig. Oh, that was the ambient screen just kicking in. I'm not sure how I activated that. Do you wave over the top? I'm not sure. I don't know. But yeah, I got this for a ridiculous good price. The screen is broken. Do you tap it? I'm not sure. Screen's cracked at the top. The actual display and stuff works still perfectly. And God, I've always been one for saying people like these manufacturers are putting overkill displays in their phone. Look at the difference in the display quality there. That's insane. But I still stay true to that. That's a 1440p display on a phone, and as far as I can tell, I can't tell the difference pixel density wise. Like, obviously that's a far better panel quality wise, like contrast, colors and stuff, but in sort of like pixel density, it's very, very hard for me to tell the difference. 1080p on a display like that, I'd be much happier with than a 1440p display, but it's not mine to keep anyway. I bought it on the cheap. Basically, I'm gonna have a go at repairing it. I got it for such a good price that I could go out and buy. I could even go out and get Motorola to repair it, and I'd still be able to then flip a profit. But basically, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna buy myself just the glass, front panel glass, which is a £5. I'm then going to buy myself some of that special UV glue stuff that they use on displays these days, and I'm basically going to have a go at having a bit of a sort of £10 repair on what would otherwise be like a £110 repair. So yeah, it's quite a gulf in how much profit I'm going to make on this, but I'm going to make a profit regardless. And the speakers are insane. The display is a ridiculous quality. The screen size, actually, I was expecting it to be really ridiculously sort of like unwieldy massive, even to something compared to like my OnePlus One. But it's a very compact phone for the screen size. It's feels very, very similar to an iPhone 6 Plus. I'm not sure what the dimensions are, but dimensions wise, it doesn't feel completely out of the way. I know that's ridiculous because it's a 6-inch phone, but it's quite compact for the screen size, and the speakers are awesome. But yeah, that's completely off topic. What are we doing today? We are just finishing up, basically. The motherboard is done, the cooler's done, all of that sort of stuff is done. We've just got our drives, so our 2 hard drives, and this SSD. Now this, you may, if you've got an eagle eye, may be able to notice that this is a different adapter. The other one, even though it claimed and said even on the PCB it said it was SATA 3, it was running at SATA 2 speeds. I tested it in another PC, and I was a bit disappointed with that, because the whole point of keeping that mSATA SSD was so I could run it at full whack on a SATA 3 bus. So I went out and got another one. It's built better, and yeah, it should just serve me much better. But yeah, I'm just going to crack on now, guys. Started off quite early. It's now 10 o'clock, so yeah, we've got plenty of time. We're not going to be running out of lights anytime soon today. Would you look at that? Literally minutes after this Nexus 6 comes through the door, and I begin to slightly fall in love with it a little bit, I get an invitation from OnePlus to buy the OnePlus X. Now, again, this is off topic, guys, but what do you expect from one of these videos? OnePlus X, announced a few days ago, absolutely superb. I think OnePlus is going to sell, well, if they can sort out their supply and demand issues, I think that they could really sell a lot of them. Specs, Snapdragon 801 with 3 gigs of RAM for £200. That's ridiculous. 5-inch 1080p display. I believe it's the same camera that's from the Galaxy X5, which is absolutely brilliant. And it takes a lot of cues from the Xperia line and the iPhone 4, iPhone 4S. So yeah, the plan was around Christmas time to get a OnePlus X, but I'm still sort of tying up ideas, because obviously I've had this for a while now. I had the Meizu MX4 in for a few weeks, but the SIM card tray didn't work. Sorry, the SIM card reader, the whole SIM card thing didn't work, and it just kind of put me off. So I decided to take the refund instead of having a replacement, because obviously I just, once you have one in faulty and it's from a relatively unproven Chinese manufacturer, you don't really trust them from that point. But OnePlus I do trust, but I do like that Nexus 6, I have to say. It's nice having front-facing speakers back. The front-facing speakers are incredible, I've already said that. And yeah, but the OnePlus X does look great, and it's ridiculous value for money, so I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, this is basically how these SSD adapters work. Ridiculously simple. I believe that there's nothing these adapters have to do really, because it's still SATA. It's literally just rearranging the pins so they work with standard SATA power connectors. So yeah, super simple, just screws in, and I should be pretty much good to go with this, and be achieving around about 500 meg read and write speeds, which will be really awesome. And there we go, the drives are in. Now I don't think it depends what I do in the voiceover, but I'm not sure how much detail I'm going to go into when explaining this cabling. But basically, the original G5 had they weren't linked. They were two separate SATA cables, one for both data and power. One came up and then down there, and it was basically just a standard SATA cable. But this one, the one that was used for the top drive, went up and tucked around top, and obviously because it's upside down, it was opposite basically to any other SATA cable. Now the SATA ports on the G5 motherboard are only by there, so, and they're by there on this motherboard, so I couldn't have reused them. But so yeah, that's straight out of my power supply. They were further linked away. You can see there I've got one bit where one SATA cable was taped up, because obviously you don't want it touching the motherboard or anything. But yeah, that's just custom distance there, so it just plugs straight in, and looks pretty much stock, to be honest. It's a little bit rough where I had a sort of second bite at it, but it's pretty much 100% stock. And then the SATA cables, I simply have two. They're at a right angle there, so I can plug them straight into the board, because they're going to be ran behind the motherboards. That's how I'm going to do the majority of the cable management here, behind the motherboards as much as possible. And yeah, it's simply just two SATA cables run up the bottom and plug straight in. The SSD, I would like to find out and figure out a better mounting system for this, because as much as it's fine in SSDs, obviously they don't cause that much hassle in terms of like hard drives vibrating and stuff. They just sit there and sort of do their thing, so it's not a massive issue. But I'd like a more permanent way fix the SSD in the G5 case. Currently it's just one strip of Velcro which sort of keeps it in place, and then it's a simple Molex to SATA power running behind the motherboard again, and then SATA data is going to run down there because I don't want it to come across too much, because it's obviously going to pull on the SSD, so it's just going to tuck behind the motherboard by there, and then it'll pop out and plug into the motherboards. And then the optical drive, similar sort of affair, except there's a right angle SATA data cable, because obviously I wanted it to be as tidy as possible. The amount of money I spent on cabling in this build is, oh my god guys, it's not even worth thinking about, because I measured everything out. That's why I stripped it down before recording any of the parts, because I needed to measure stuff and see what sort of distances I was working with. So all of these SATA cables were bought in advance with the correct dimensions, so I know where they go and where they fit on the motherboard, and yeah, it just took me quite a while, but I'm pretty pleased with how that turned out. We've got a SATA optical drive here. It's just a DVD burner, an LG DVD burner, but I got the sticker on it so it looks stock, and it's looking pretty good so far, guys. It's looking pretty damn good. The only cables you're going to be able to see, because our motherboard is a short motherboard, as many micro ATX motherboards are these days, the only two cables you're going to see are these two, which I would like to fix one day, either by getting a H97 that's wider, and that would just automatically cover it up, or thinking of some sort of cable management issue sort of resolver back there. But I'm rambling now. Yeah, I'm rambling. I'm gonna stop while I'm ahead. Yeah, I'll just crack on with this now. Looking good. I'm really struggling to get this shot. I just cannot get it looking decent. And it just comes back to, again, that fact that these machines, and metal in particular, any kind of metal, under artificial lighting is really, really hard, unless you've got like 3 or 4 soft boxes bouncing soft light off the ceiling and stuff. I only have 2 lights available to me, so it's quite hard to get a natural look, especially when you're working with like metal and stuff. But I just cannot get it looking half decent. I mean, it looks fine there in the preview window, but then as soon as you add this, the motherboard, to the mix, it just darkens the whole picture, because you've got this massive heatsink which is shadows in some parts and blown out highlights in other parts because it's reflecting light off the softbox, and then you've got a dark black PCB. It's just it's really annoying. People have complimented me, and the response since I decided to do this cinematic sort of style has been incredible. You guys are absolutely amazing, but it doesn't come naturally to me. I thought, alright, I'll work hard on this for 6-7 months, and I'll be making videos to the quality of any of the best out there, but it doesn't work like that, guys. You do need the correct equipment. People who say the best camera you have on you, the best camera is the camera you have on, that's bollocks, frankly. Even a very, very good camera like an EOS Ebb can only do so much when you're restricted with regards to spacing, lighting. Lighting is the #1 thing you can do to make your videos look good. You could set up an iPhone, and as long as you've got good lighting, it'll look half decent, but you do need the equipment. And it's a combination of, I don't have quite enough decent equipment to sort of step it up a level, and it's also my skill personally. I'm not good enough at it. It just doesn't come naturally to me. I'm better at the actual tinkering and video ideas and presenting in front of the camera. I'm better at that than I am sat behind the camera doing fancy B-roll shots. It's just not really my thing. And now that I've gone to this cinematic style, I do prefer it. My videos are so much better than they used to be, but it's really, really hard to when you're taking shots, like the same shot 4 or 5 times at a different angle and a different lighting, because you've got to get it looking good. And again, I'm rambling, but what do you expect? It's just it's just that extra pressure once you step it up a level. You have to maintain that standard, otherwise people begin to question, and I don't even know what I'm trying to say here, but B-roll doesn't come naturally to me, and it just takes a lot of effort out of me. But yeah, we're getting there. Once this is in, this is really going to start looking like my Hackintosh that I planned, what must have been 6 months ago now. So yeah, I'm just super excited. I think I'm going to have to do a lot of work in Final Cut to get these shots kind of half usable, but yeah, I'm on a slippery slope here. I just hate shooting B-roll. Sometimes it's just so annoying. Light is the enemy, and but yeah, look at that. That is looking incredible. That FX70 is pretty much the same size as the heatsink that was in the G5 originally. It fits absolutely perfectly. I think the G5 heatsink cover is just about going to fit. It is literally like it was made to fit in the G5. You've got then these two F9s out the back that are basically centimeters away, ready to pull air out the back. I am expecting some seriously awesome temperatures. That is one beastly cooler. I keep on saying it is just awesome, absolutely awesome. But you can see there we've got SATA cables plugged in, and as you can see, it's a pretty tidy build. Now I still have the PCI. I may get a PCI extender cable because this is a dual 6-pin, or a 6+4. Sorry, a 6+2. But obviously that's going to plug in there, and you're still going to see that other connector because it doesn't quite reach the first one. So I may have this lurking down there by an extension cable, just to keep it looking extra tidy. But gotta bear in mind here, that's a relatively, obviously this isn't tidied yet, but even as it is, that is one of, if not the cleanest looking G5 mods that I've ever seen, with running all the cables, because there is enough clearance. The standoffs are pretty long, so there's enough to run practically everything back there. I was mindful to buy flat cables as well, obviously, but you got to bear in mind the shelf has got to go on there as well, and then you've got the fan assembly and the heatsink cover, so everything up to that point there is going to be covered. So all you're going to see is them two, and I want to hide that one as much as possible, possibly behind there somehow, and then the graphics cable. That's all you're going to see. Aside from that, it's going to be pretty much crystal clear inside here. So yeah, this again, like the case modding, is just turning out so much better than I expected. It's just hard shooting this video. This whole series has been quite challenging to record. I've had to be forced down into the hallway to get as much light as possible, and it's still giving me quite a few difficulties. But yeah, looking good. So it's now 5 to 3. The the camera is just upstairs having a little charging session, just so we can have the legs to get to the end of this video. But the shelf is now in, and I am pleased to report that, oh dear, let's try not to knock a door over, the heatsink cover sits perfectly. There is literally not a millimetre to spare. It slides across, sits in, and I'm not sure how well you're going to be able to see back there, but they are literally millimetres away from touching. So could not have fit better. That Zalman Ah, it's just awesome, guys. It's absolutely awesome. It is perfect for a build like this in this G5 case. It is absolutely 100% perfect. I'm going to do some of the cable tidying off camera now, just to polish everything basically, because obviously these cables here, I'm going to tuck them underneath there so you can't see them, but those cables going across there are obviously going to be covered up by the graphics card. The graphics card is going to take up these two, and then our wireless adapter is going to take up the third one. Of course, this board only has 3 expansion slots. Other more higher end motherboards have a 4th one up there, and so that's just going to sit there free for now. But this is quite weird, because a lot of lower end boards, they're actually shorter as well, so they don't make use of that standoff. But this one, it goes up a long way. Like, it has all of the front panel connectors on the top, and then it has a lot of sort of dead space at the top, which is actually really good in this situation, because if our board only came up to that standoff there, you would still get a load of the ugly SATA cables and stuff coming down the back. But as it is, it goes right up to the top, and you can hardly see them at all. So I'm really pleased with the cable management job. Obviously, with the heatsink cover and stuff on, all of that is going to be completely invisible. I do want to do a better job on this power front panel connector. I mean, it works fine, it's absolutely perfect, but, well, it's not perfect, but, well, functionally it's perfect, it works absolutely fine. But I want to make it look a little bit prettier, so I'll probably get some heat shrink in and do a proper job on that one day, but for now it'll do absolutely fine. And my suspicions about the power adapter, the PCI cable, are true. So it's going to plug in by there, because my 660 has a side, the 6-pin is on the side, which I don't like. I prefer them to be on the back. I don't understand, because regardless of whether you're upside down in a G5 case or whether you're in a normal PC case, the graphics card's side is always going to be visible. So I don't understand why manufacturers feel the need to put it on the side. It just doesn't make sense to me, but I digress. Yeah. That SSD actually isn't too bad up there. It's pretty solid up there, so I'm not going to be in any sort of rush to figure out another way to mount that. But yeah, all 4 SATA ports obviously are taken up, so there's no space for anything else now. Obviously, again, higher end boards have 6, so if you wanted to, you could possibly run 2 SSDs down here. That would work fine. But yeah, it's looking pretty good, guys. No, it's looking absolutely awesome. Actually, it's awesome. The best. I'm not bragging here, but this is the most authentic looking G5 mod I think I've ever seen, and that is exactly what I spent all of the money on, and that's exactly what I got, and I just really hope the installation of El Capitan goes relatively smoothly. I think I am slowly falling in love with this phone. It is absolutely sublime. It got really mixed reviews when it came out, and it didn't interest me at all. I thought it was too big. The battery life got mixed reviews. I wasn't necessarily a fan of the style, and it just didn't really interest me at all. It was far too expensive. But just listen to this, guys. This is Faces of Stone, Dave Gilmour's new album. This is Nexus 4, relatively okay-ish back-facing speaker. I'll turn it on its back so you can get the full volume. This is a full whack now. It hurts my ears, and it probably hurts your ears as well. Now listen to this. This is on now the Nexus 6 at full whack. it's insane. I don't know if it's just me, but I'm pretty sure they're better than the boom sound speakers I had on my HTC One back a couple of years ago. They are awesome. They are absolutely awesome. We have a little orange Philips Bluetooth speaker somewhere, and it beats the crap out of it. It's incredible. Sound quality is insane, and yeah, I'm loving it so far. I got this. I may as well tell you, I got it for £60. £60 for a fully working Nexus 6 with a little bit of a crack. And I am very, very tempted to just go, screw it. Because I've been looking for a phone for a long time. I was going to go with the OnePlus X. That impressed me when it came out. But this has just blown me away in the few hours that I've had it. And it's now plugged into the mains. And it's gone from about 20% to 40% in a matter of minutes. Turbocharging is awesome. Yeah, it's awesome. I love it. And the dimple, I understand the dimple now. I understand why everybody loves it. When you're holding it, it's exactly where your index finger is. It's so satisfying. And the ergonomics are really nice, even though it's a 6-inch phone. I love this thing. It's awesome. It's absolutely awesome, guys. I am so surprised. I was expecting to hate it, really, and want to turn it over in a bit of a hurry, but no, it's absolutely superb. And there she is, guys, in all her glory. Our Power Mac. I don't even know what to call it. Power Hack G5, Power Mac G5 Hackintosh, modified Power Mac G5. I don't know, but wow, that looks pretty much stock, doesn't it? And it's just awesome. So awesome. Stock looking middle section with all of our expansion cards, stock G5 heatsink cover, stock rear fan assembly, stock front fan assembly, stock front panel, stock looking optical drive, stock hard drive bays. Oh, it's just perfect, guys. It is absolutely perfect. You can see on the back there we have all of our ports. Now, this is probably my only thing with this whole mod. Obviously, because there is the rear fan assembly in the way, and there's obviously like rivets because there's a lip on the case. The motherboard sits a little bit recessed, which it has its pros and cons because it means cables don't stick out the back so much, and the same goes for the PCI section here. It's recessed, which is good for space saving reasons, but it could have been done better. If I were to have designed this, I would have designed it so this black trim would have been wider, so it essentially filled the gap around there, so it would meet. It would be a lot more work and stuff, but I think it'd be worth it because right down there's nothing there. It just goes straight down to the bottom of the system, and then that meets obviously with the fan assembly. It's nothing major. I mean, we still have solid access to all of our ports. It's not like anything's obstructed in any way. It's like a stock PC. It's just a little tiny eeny weeny little imperfection, but honestly, all things considered, that's a massive nitpick. Oh, there is one caveat to this whole project though. The inner, well, not the whole project. If I used a smaller graphics card, then it wouldn't be an issue, or one with back mounted PCI. But anyway, the inner plastic air baffle doesn't fit because this has a side mounted power connector. And so we've got a double whammy here by having a graphics card which has side power. It means it looks ugly and we can no longer use our air baffle. But I will keep the air baffle because one day I may decide to upgrade. I will one day decide to upgrade because this whole thing is going to be with me now for years. This is I don't think I can ever grow tired of this case design. So this is very much going to be the base of everything going forward for years to come. Now I'm I've done the whole mess around with PowerPC Macs, go up from iBook G3s to PowerMac G5s. I now want to settle down and just have a computer that works and just have something which I can rely on for 4 or 5 years to come. But yeah, side mounted power means the air baffle doesn't work, but the side panel obviously fits just fine. And yeah, in every other way it's absolutely perfect. It is just so freaking awesome. I am beyond happy with how this has turned out. I am so happy, I just cannot even express. But yeah, all I've got to do now is a couple of glam shots of just the finished product as I say goodbye to everybody in the main video. And yeah, so I think actually I'm going to leave this filming vlog here as I'm pretty much done. I may do, because part 4 and part 5 are going to be purely software based, because it's OS 10 install and stuff, I'll probably combine them into one part, because there won't be that much, well, as much to talk about probably. But then I'll be able to give you my sort of first impressions on what it's like using this thing on a daily basis and stuff like that. So yeah, look out for part 4, which will be down the line probably when part 5 of the actual series comes out. But yeah, until then guys, ta-ra.